Right, everybody, and welcome to today. Let's get started. Let's make it interactive, please. Before you say a word, the room has already decided. Before you introduce yourself, the room has already decided. Before you open your mouth to negotiate, the room has already decided. They've decided whether to listen, to trust, and to follow. The decision is not only based on your title, your experience, and your intelligence, but because that has already been stalked, read, researched. It's about how you carry yourself. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed somebody immediately that stands out to you, not because they're loud, not because they demand attention, but because something about them just makes you look twice? Success today is not about being the smartest in the room. It's about how you carry yourself, how you draw on your power, how you show up. Poise, power, and presence are skills, not personality. And good news, these can be learned. For those of you who don't know who I am, you all should know. My name is Dr. Diane Boorman, and I have an honorary doctorate in professional studies, strategic management. I'm also a multi-award-winning business growth specialist, and I'm the head coach for Circle of Excellence. So welcome to today's session. Let's start with poise. Poise is the art of calm authority. It's about grace under pressure. Poise is really revealed when we are under pressure, when things are not going according to plan, when we are challenged, when we are interrupted, and when we are watched. Poise is the ability to remain composed without being rigid. It's about emotional regulation in motion. It's choosing response before reaction. A poised person doesn't suppress emotions, they master it. We allow for discomfort, but without collapsing. We hold our posture, our tone, and our standards. This is not politeness. This is self-respect. And the self-respect is then made visible. So there's a myth behind poise. The myth is that confidence needs to be loud, that leadership needs to be dominant, and that authority needs to be aggressive. In reality, the most powerful person in the room is often the calmest. They expect people to lean in. So we have three pillars to poise. The one is the physical, the next verbal, and the next emotion. So I want you to think about right now, how are you sitting? Scan your body for a moment. Where are your feet placed? Where are your arms placed? Where are your shoulders? And now what I want you to do is to put both feet flat on the ground if they aren't already. Your shoulders up and back and down so that you relax them a little bit more. Then your spine is now straight and tall, and your jaws are unclenched. So do that kind of exercise. Like, men are lucky that they shave every morning, but the women, we need to do a little bit of a moment with our jaws to make them unclenched. And slowly breathe. Can you feel a slight difference? And imagine doing that every morning or every time that you have to step into the room. Because stillness signals confidence. Fidgeting signals uncertainty. The less you move, the more people watch. The nervous system reads safety first before words, and calm bodies project credibility. So poise begins with the body first, and then the verbal poise sits in. And the verbal poise is, how do we speak? Are we speaking slowly? Are we ending the sentence by lowering our voice? Because that way people get excited and they want to lean in and hear more. And do we allow for that pause? Because silence is not awkward, it's powerful. But these are things that we have to learn because most of us, and including myself, I want to give you as much information, and therefore I start talking so fast that you can't actually understand what I'm saying, but I'm getting all the information out. And what have you taken from it? Absolutely nothing. So where do we need to have these three pillars of poise in our everyday occurrence? We need them for negotiations. We need them for difficult conversations, whether it's with our children or with our staff members or with our suppliers or potential clients. We need them when we are challenged publicly, and that happens more and more and more now. And you'll start seeing it more and more now as competition gets higher. And we need it for high stake meetings. When you're going into pitch, you're fighting others. So your poise starts representing who you are. So I'd love you to put into the chat right now. There's 5 questions I'm going to ask you of yesterday. And I want you to rate yourself. I stayed composed yesterday. I respond thoughtfully yesterday. I managed stress gracefully yesterday. And I maintained elegance under pressure yesterday. I remained self-led yesterday. How many of the 5 can you say you mastered yesterday? Let's have a look and see where everybody's at. Hello to everybody else joining. Lovely to see you. Only Nadia gets 4. Everybody else? I can repeat. I stayed composed. I responded thoughtfully. I managed stress gracefully. I maintain elegance under pressure. And I remain self-led. Isn't it interesting when we have to analyze what we do? Ah, nice. I see some 2s, 4s. So when we start mastering the poise behind what we do, this helps us to not react immediately. We get to choose our responses intentionally. We stay regulated under pressure. And this is probably one of the most important things that we need to learn as we move forward. We need to understand and practice emotional composure. We need to have behavioral elegance. We need to have pressure management and social mastery because nobody has social mastery anymore. Nobody talks to one another. When last did you have a meaningless conversation with somebody? So I have 4 tips for you as you move in the poise space. One is to identify what your emotional triggers are. In South Africa, we have taxis that zip in front of us continuously when we're driving. What's your reactions? Do you get triggered like this? If somebody jumps a queue and you stand in a long queue for forever, does it trigger you like this? So what are your triggers and why? How can you practice more composed responses? So when we have sales calls, do you know how to answer any negative feedback that you get? Do you have them already and have them composed? Can you refine your micro behaviors? So your body language right now, how you're sitting, should it be refined? Are you sitting on the edge of your seat, ready to run out that door the moment I finish speaking? Or are you sitting back and relaxed and ready to engage, to ask questions? And can you lead with calm elegance? And that's really about your breathing. I remember I've been speaking on stage for many years, but the first thing for me that shows my anxiety is the way that I breathe. I forget to breathe because I want to share everything as much as possible. And I need to remember all those words, and I'm not really good at that. So I get anxious and therefore my voice starts closing. So I had to go to a coach to teach me how to breathe. And now I have my water next to me so I can just sip and create a moment of pause so you can all listen to me slurp my water. What do you do in that case in order to calm? These things become important in our day-to-day life now. We need to have emotional leadership. We need to have elegance, restraint, and we need to have grace under challenge. Remember, as we move forward in this year in particular is going to be fast and furious and passionate. And what is that restraint moment? How are you going to manage to control your responses as you move forward. The second part of today is about power. Power is about owning our inner authority. And you all know that has been in Circle of Excellence. Module number 1 is all about getting your clarity around who you are, what you want the world to know you for. Have you really taken a moment to think about that? As we grow, that changes. So your self-authority is actually the new luxury. We can then self-trust. We can then have decisiveness around our decision making. Power is not control over others. It's not anything to do with other people. It's about command over yourself. Power is not about volume, and it's not about dominance. It's certainly not a performance. Power is the ability to trust your decisions, to hold your standards, and move through the world without asking permission. We often mistake power for endurance and resilience, but endurance without authority leads to burnout, and many of us have been in that space. Power begins when you decide that your inner compass is reliable, that you no longer need consensus to validate your choices. Power is visible in how you set boundaries calmly. Power is also visible on your LinkedIn profile. Just saying, hashtag. In how we don't rush to explain, in how we choose alignment, in where is claimed. We need to know clarity, boundaries, and energies. So, an exercise, because of course, you've now tired of listening to my voice. I want you to think about these statements that I'm going to give you. I want you to reflect on them. And I want you to share in the chat a short story behind one of them. So if you think about a situation, when did you over-explain yourself? Ever? Always? None? Never? When did you say yes when you meant no? Often? Never? When did you shrink your voice in order to fit in? And when did you avoid holding a boundary? Never? Always? Look at you go, Karen. Let's see. Claire? Yes?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Valerie, yes, I can. When did we over-explain ourselves? When did we say yes when we meant no? When did we shrink our voice? And when did we avoid holding a boundary? But remember, this is not a capability issue for any one of those. This is a power issue. I reckon we all should be in the category of sometimes. Sometimes we give up a little bit of ourselves when we didn't mean to, but we wanted to fit in, or we wanted that job, or we wanted to have that moment with a supplier. We wanted to have our staff respect us a little bit more. But was it right? Or are we just leaking power? So remember now, there's 3 sources of personal power. And then I also want you to go and have a look at your LinkedIn profile to see if you can spot these 3 sources. Clarity, which is knowing you. So if you know you, everybody else will know who you are. And that's what makes you different from everybody else. And what is that little thing that makes you so different? Knowing what you want, knowing what you won't accept, and speaking decisively. Those allow for you to stop leaking your power, but they will also allow for your clients to come to you, because then you have clarity. The unclear person leaks clarity. The clear person has the most or the best advantage. Boundary power is all about saying no without explanations, not over justifying yourself and holding your ground. Because Remember, stability draws people in, not intensity. And the third one is your energy power. This is where people follow energy before logic, where calm certainty over emotional intensity and grounded confidence without force. So, when do you think you need power right now? Or don't you? Question you are allowed to answer.
In what context?
Everything. When do you think you need power in your day-to-day business, in your day-to-day life? When do you think it most comes to fore?
I think as speakers, we are most of the time alone in front of the audience, alone on the roads. So we need to strengthen us ourselves because most of the time we don't have colleagues with us or someone else on stage with us. So we need this power every day in each lecture. And the more successful we are, the pressure is higher, because the people wait for us, the audience waits for us, companies pay us a lot of money and we wait in a conference for our turn, and then the pressure goes up, and then you need to tell yourself the inner story, how powerful you are and how great your content is and how great the audience is going to enjoy in few minutes in order to be a successful speaker.
Absolutely. And you also need the power in order to get the next speaking gig. Because if you're not pitching continuously, you're not able to get the next one and the next one. So you're negotiating every single day. We negotiate something, whether we're looking for the next job for speaking, whether we are putting out information into the world, whether we're writing an email, you're negotiating every single time. So I want you to go back and have a look at your last email that you sent. Is it a powerful email about you? Does it include your power in it? Does it really show your authority? It'd be very interesting to have a look at. So we use power in negotiation, in leadership every day. I'm sure you negotiate with your children on a continuous basis, or your partners, or your business partners, or your suppliers, or your clients. There's so many people on a day-to-day basis that we need to step into this space. We also need it from a personal authority, because if you're not regulating your personal authority in the correct way, and remember, every time you grow to the next level, every time you speak at a better conference, at a better space, you're needing to push that authority a little bit more each time. If you're not doing that, you're not bringing in the right clients. And we always hear that. We don't have another client. Well, go back to the beginning and have a look again. You also, your decision making in things like how you packaging what you do out there. Can I see that powerful moment of you in your packaging? It's also about setting boundaries and standards. Do you know what your boundaries are? I work 3.5 days a week. That's it. You cannot get hold of me. A very select few can get hold of me after hours. Why? Because I need to regulate myself in order to be the best version of myself, to stand on stage, to be in workshops, to facilitate. And if you're not doing that for yourself, then there's a problem. And then you also need to have emotional regulation. So if you're hyperventilating, like when I stood on stage previously, you've got to start learning what are the tricks of the trade. Where's your power pose that everybody talks about? That power comes into play every single time. So what next when it comes to power? What do you need to do next in order to ensure you are claiming your power? It's really about working out where are you deferring your power and when are you deferring your power? So when are you handing it over to somebody else and why? What is one negotiable that you can set today that will allow you to grow in the future? Can you practice decision making without justification? So if you decide to do something, why do you need to justify why you're doing it? Does it matter? Does anybody care? And can you show this on a daily basis? And a daily basis would be emails, LinkedIn, website. You can show your power in so many ways that it doesn't have to be dictatorial. So here's your checklist, and I want to see in the chat, out of 5 again. And it's all about what you did yesterday. So think about what your day was like yesterday. I trusted my decisions yesterday. I set standards without apology yesterday. I regulated emotions before responding yesterday. I held my ground calmly yesterday. And I led myself first yesterday. So out of 5, let's see. Oh, look at you. Yesterday was a good day. Clearly for some of you. Hey, well done. Very nice. So in order to push this up a little bit more to get to the 5, can you start a ritual that says in the morning, you know, your first golden hour that everybody talks about? What am I deciding today without explanation? And that way you can decide and then act. So in your golden hour, think about that, because that will set the tone for the day. And what it means to move to the next level then means that you set your non-negotiables, you reduce justification, and you lead yourself first. So you have to really know what it is that you want in order to set your power in place. And this is where most of us forget. We forget to take a step back to look at, where do we really want to go forward? Who do we really want to work with? Who's our circle that we need right now to get us to that next level? So the challenge for you is to take that moment to decide. And then we step into presence, because presence is how you are felt in a room. So for all those speakers, as you walk onto stage, your presence is already felt. Before you speak, you're already speaking. Your presence is not what you say, it is what people feel. It's not how you're going to say it, it's how you're going to make them feel. Your presence is immediate. It's your energy right now. So if I was going to talk like this, how many of you will listen? And do you do that on stage? Do we calm down so much that you're putting people to sleep? Or you're hyping them up in your conversation and changing the levels of your voice? So what's your energy like that's immediate and unavoidable? Your presence is shaped by your nervous system, your posture, your pace, and your internal state. When you rush, other people feel unsettled. So if you have a message that you really need to get out there immediately and you want people to really listen, you need to talk fast, because that way you're unsettling them. You're getting them to listen and to do something. But when you are grounded, other people are calm. And your presence in leadership is really without words. You don't need to say anything in order to attract attention, intention, and focus. So a person with presence doesn't try to command attention. You allow the room to meet you. You enter intentionally, you breathe deeply, and you let silence work for you. Presence is not charisma you perform. It's calm that you cultivate. So with everything, there's always a formula, and presence has a formula. We have an internal formula and an external formula. So your internal, what you need to ask yourself is, how do I want to be experienced? Your external formula, therefore, becomes eye contact, stillness, listening. The most present person will be the most influential person in the room. So let's have a look at what do we need then for presence. We need to regulate our energies. When we need to be hyper, we need hyper. When we need to be calm and slow, we need to also have that. So can you go between? You need to understand your body language. So right now, look at yourself. What does your body language say to you? Are you open? Are you really listening to what I'm saying? Have you moved on to the next topic of the day? Making sure that your nervous system awareness is in place and your first impression mastery. So when you walk into a room, what do you think your first impression is? Let's hear. Pop it in a chat. What do you think people see first from a first impression? That you are energetic, that you're professional, that you're calm, that you're intelligent. What do you think that they think about you? Yes. So, James, if appearance is key, what do you project? Nice. Positive energy. Depends on the room. No, energy goes with you in every room. Professional, yes. Quiet loudness. Calm authority. Isn't it interesting? It would be a great exercise if everybody could put in somebody that they noticed in the room, what they thought of somebody else. So if you choose somebody on the screen, put a word, put the who, and put what you thought of that person as the first impressions. Nadia. Oh, that's nice, James. Thank you. Nadia is a happy soul. Anybody else have an opinion of somebody else? Grounded and professional. Nice, James. Well, that's a nice compliment to get. Thoughtful. Very cool. So isn't it interesting what we want to project and what we get back in return? So sometimes we need to do this exercise in order to get to the level that you want to be at, because we aren't always in the same space. So what do we need to do in order to get to that next kind of a level then? So from a presence point of view, we need to make sure that we ground our body. And I say this continuously, and I never knew what that meant until I spent some time with Philippe. And anybody that in this room that knows Philippe, you must reach out to him. He does a meditation, he does this calm talking. He's absolutely phenomenal. The other person is Rob Robertson. He also does these things of centering you, of getting you grounded, of listening. So we need to know and understand what that means for us. We also need to slow our pace down. So for me, slowing pace down is quite a challenge because I'm fast. I move fast. I do everything fast. I don't look at detail. I look at high picture or big picture. But what I decided to take on was walking in heels. Now I've never walked in heels before. I'm already tall, and because I move fast, I need tacky so that I can keep going. So I took on the challenge of walking in heels. They slow you down. Karen, who's on our call today, gave me the perfect solution of how to walk in heels. And for anybody that needs to slow down, you need to reach out to myself or Karen and ask how you do that, because it slows our pace down. So walking onto stage needs to be calm, slow. You need to show yourself off for a moment as you climb on the stage. You also need to understand that silence is intentional, and you need to observe everybody else that's inside the room when you're there. So here's your checklist on presence. So yesterday, it's out of 5 again. Yesterday, I entered spaces intentionally. Yesterday, my posture was grounded. Yesterday, I maintained eye contact. Yesterday, I used pauses powerfully. And yesterday, I left a strong impression. So out of 5. James, was it a good day yesterday? Very cool. Nice. So clearly our presence has superseded everything else. You still were in a room, Karen. You still were in a room with doing things. So here's a ritual for you in case you need to up this side of it. Before you enter a room, what is your stance? How are you going to ground yourself, calm yourself, and lead yourself? Because you know you always have these power poses. So what's your presence pose that you need to do before you go into a boardroom to negotiate, before you walk onto stage? How are you going to center yourself again? In order to get to that next level, we need to make sure that we can hold silence comfortably. So let's see how long we can sit in this room without anybody talking. No, I'm just joking. The speakers, it will send you completely off your scale. So can you hold your silence comfortably? Can you slow your physical movement down? And can you command rooms without effort? So that's always an interesting one when you're online with people and most of the the cameras are off. How do you command a room? How do you know you command in a room? It's very interesting when we start looking at these kinds of things. So what I want you to do is to arrive fully into your space, into your most powerful place that you can be in, your most present place that you can be in. Why? Because poise creates trust. Power creates authority. Presence creates connection. And people will notice you more. But more importantly, people will remember you. So my question that I'm going to leave with you before we go into the chat, and you can all share your beautiful stories with me, is where do I need more poise? Where have I given my power away? And where must I be more present? I'm not asking you to be anybody else but yourself. I simply need you to stand fully in who you are already and to showcase that to the world. So the exercise today is for you to go back and work out who exactly are you? Who's going to share? Who are you? I'm
Well,
just checking comments. Sorry, I need more
yeah.
poise to deal with
Uh,
idiots.
my
Sorry.
my challenge. I love people, and I think I'm a good mentor. And my challenge in the last few years were to be also mentoring my house, my own house, because sometimes you're very good outside, but when you come, you have challenges, with your spouse, with your kids, and with your family, with your parents, and then you feel that you say yes to them, even though you would like to say no, or you are someone else. So my challenge. My development in the last few years was to be inside the house as I'm outside the house with my parents and my kids and my spouse, my wife.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like the mechanic in his car. His car's never working. It's exactly the same thing. So, um, you're starting to see so many things coming out about this year and how intense it's going to be and all of that. And then on the other hand, there's a lot more people coming forward to say things like, what is that golden hour? What should you be doing? How should you be starting your day? With what intentions are you putting out there? And I think that that golden hour is almost becoming gold. That's why it's called golden hour, I suppose. But it's so gold for us because when you hit that day running, everything else starts dissipating. And we forget children, spouses, friends. When was the last time you picked up the telephone and spoke to your friend? Any friend? Just about, hello, how are you? My challenge that I always give to my clients is, can you pick up the telephone and phone 3 past clients, 3 current clients, and 3 future clients, and just ask them, how are you? Because that brings you into the presence. It also gives you presence because it's really about intentional asking. And you're not there to sell them anything, but guaranteed by the time you come off the phone, you've probably sold the biggest thing ever. People want that connection too. Yes, 100%, Gavin. And you need to understand what it is that you want. And that's why understanding your power becomes super important, because if you don't know what the intention is for the year, and you haven't set your KPIs and all those business things, and you haven't decided what this year is going to be about, whether you're growing or whether you're going back to basics or whatever you're doing, it becomes really difficult then to set your power and your presence and your poise for going forward. Nice, Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your intention for the year?
So the intention is to up the game. I'm often engaging in conversations which are off the cuff, but the answers are not, prepared for. So I find myself being waylaid quite often, rather than being focused on what the intent is that I'm trying to get across.
And how can you turn that around?
Just by being very focused on what the goal is. If the goal is to, let's say, transfer certain knowledge, make sure that I'm questioning my own intent at every point, saying, am I transferring this knowledge? And is it being comprehended? So in other words, creating checkpoints.
Yeah. Nice. Absolutely. And we never do that. We often do a checklist for potential new clients, and then we forget about what's actually going on in the day for ourselves. So what do we need to put into place? And can we do something that's easy to copy and paste? Because if you're looking at it on a Monday morning and you're closing off at the end of the week, can you go back and have a look and say, yes, I've done what I needed to do? Not necessarily from a jobs perspective, but from an intention perspective. Was I intentional in my upskilling my staff? Was I intentional in the presentations that I gave? Did I get the clients that I wanted to get? Why didn't I? We need to start asking ourselves those questions, because the moment you start putting yourself into more of a powerful position. You also start doing things like becoming that authority. People know that if you're coming into the room to upskill others, then that's what you're doing, instead of coming into a room and then they know they can take your focus onto absolutely everything else.
Yeah, good. Thanks for that.
Yeah, hundreds. Yeah. It's very much about knowing what your value is, but it's also knowing what your values are. And that's what your power is. If you know all of that, and that's why going back to basics in module 1 in Circle of Excellence, it really is about setting that in place. One of the Circle of Excellence clients spent December going through the hero's journey, and I thought that was absolutely superb. Do you know what were the T junctions when you making big decisions? Could you go and list it? Every big decision that you've made in your life, can you go and list them and understand why you made those decisions? And I promise you, there's a golden thread. This beautiful lady turned around to me and she said, every single one of her decisions was made because of a man. And not a husband or that. It was because her lecturer was a man, her mentor at school was a man, her boss was a man. Isn't that interesting? It's very interesting when you go and do this exercise of every single major decision that you've made. Go and see what the golden thread is, because that's your power. Well, hopefully they all were good decisions. I mean, that's also a question. If they weren't a good decision, then why weren't they a good decision? Were you stepping out of your power in that moment? That would also be a nice one. So the hero's journey is a really nice one to do when you've got time. Don't rush it, because when you rush it, you're not going to be able to get the answers that you're looking for. You're not going to see your power. So how do we slow down? How do we put a pause into place? Can anybody tell me? Do they use pauses and silence and stillness in a boardroom, on stage? Sorry, there's lots going on in the chat. I'm trying very hard to concentrate, but it's fantastic. Yeah, power is the pause, but do you use it? Monet, what did you say? I need to stop doubting myself. when I do costing for new clients, I find myself being too conservative. Okay, then you just need to send me your costing and I'll change it for you.
I'll do that. Should have done it
Why are
yesterday.
why are you doubting yourself?
I don't know. Yesterday I did costing and it came to about 120 for the piece. And I was like, no, maybe I should just give them, just make it a nice round figure, come in lower, then at least I can get future work. But I mean, it costs what it costs, at the end of the day. But I still came in lower for them. So I wish I had this talk before I sent the proposal yesterday.
Isn't it really about understanding what our power is?
Absolutely.
So tell me what your value would have been if you gave them at 100 and whatever you say 120 versus whatever you gave to them now. What is the value that changes?
As in the monetary value or the actual personal value? Because I think they're both linked.
Yeah. So what is the actual value that they're going to get that's different?
I don't know. I don't actually, like, I think it's for me I think it's the doubt that I need to work on. So if I come in, because I know when I do the work, there's no doubt, right? Like there, I know what I'm doing. It's the costing that's the where I'm always like, oh no, I based on my experience, I probably should be costing this, but at the end of the day, if I compare myself to massive firms, it's my quality is like a million times better. And I think that's the thing. They're not going to get lesser quality. And I think that's where I need to work on the value of, I guess it's all in the mind at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So just remember, when you're going to change prices, go and list what value are they going to get less for 120,000
Nothing
versus
less they're going to get.
them. You know what the biggest thing it's going to be is that you are going to question things along the way with a lesser price.
For sure.
And you're
I'm
not
just
going to question.
resentful.
Yes, exactly. 100%. That's the big difference. And that's what we don't want. So go back and change and say, oops, I forgot a zero, and go and send your quote.
For sure.
Nice, Monet. And I think that you need a big page in front of you and you need to write what your power is.
Definitely. That's the one that stood out for me today is power.
Fantastic. Karen.
I think being a lawyer has taught me a few things about one, power, and two, my own value. So I learned very early on in my legal career, which for those of you who don't know me, only started when I was 44. I started studying at 40, so became a lawyer at 44. I always undervalued myself because I didn't understand the dynamic. And once I started to realize that people see value actually in a higher price because you can claim yourself as an expert in whatever you do, and the fee that you charge reflects that. So I do not negotiate my my price as an attorney ever. People will say, oh, can I pay you off? No. Either you have the money to pay me or you don't, and there are lots of attorneys who charge less than me. You must go for them. You won't get my expertise. You'll get something different, but that's what you need to deal with. I think that's something very important. It was a hard lesson to learn, but I learned it very early on. Then the other one is the power of silence. So silence is the most incredible in what I do. It's a very competitive thing. So, you're going into a courtroom and you've got another attorney arguing, and most of the time you're trying to persuade a magistrate of something that they might not be ready to be persuaded about. And what I have learned is to be completely quiet, because what it does is it allows the other person to take a spade and dig the hole and then bury themselves in it. And I just sit and watch and occasionally quietly prod. So it's it's a tool that you can use for me as in an attorney space. And then, of course, in the mediation space, silence is incredibly powerful because the most important thing about being in that space is listening. And so few of us actually know how to be present properly and listen with intent.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Completely agree with you. And I think that what we've done is because everything is instant gratification, we want everything immediate, and our speed has got so fast that we forget detail, we forget to be human, we forget to be present, and we forget our power. And then it just like rolls into each other. So if we start going back to basics a little bit more in the beginning of the year, it's really going to see us fly for the rest of the year. So really know what your boundaries are. And this comes to pricing and packaging as well of your product offerings, because have a template. It's quite simple. You can't change a template. Have your template with, if you're working hours, and you all know by now that I can't stand it if you're working in hours. So I want you to work in packages. If a package is this amount, that's my template. That's it. And then justification behind it. Stop that. Rather have an infographics of this is what I'm gonna be doing. Mike and Lundy do infographics so beautifully. Get an infographic designed for yourself. Spend some money on that design, because the process shows people it's a scientific process. You've thought about it, and this is what the outcome is going to be. Then the query behind what you're going to do should be nothing. You don't need to justify yourself then. Then it becomes quite simple. They can either afford you and want you, or they can't. There's a lot of business out there in the world, so keep remembering that. It's really something that we need to master as we move forward in this year, because this year is going to be very much about connections. Who do you have supporting you? Who's those connections? Who do you have that can introduce you to the people that you want to be introduced to so that you can grow? Who can you support in order to help them grow? It all comes back to that who. So what is your social mastery about? When last did you have a dinner party? When last did you think about who is surrounding you from a cheerleader's point of view? Because we need that. We need people to slap us on the backs and say, well done, that's fantastic. Like I got a beautiful comment now, so thank you, to say that my slides were gorgeous and professional. It makes me feel good. Thank you. So it's really about doing those kind of things for one another. Who do we need to surround ourselves with that can do that? But then, who do you need that can challenge you and say, no, no, maybe not like that. Maybe that price, Monet, is not quite right. So you need to have those people surrounding you as well. So please remember to make sure that you are connecting with those people, that you really are looking at that social mastery right now, that you're getting out there and surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be surrounded with the next level people. What is the saying? We're 3 degrees away from the ideal person that we want. I think that's the saying. I'm not, anyway, you know what I mean. You've got 3 people away from the person that you want to meet. So who do you want to meet? Is the question. And when you meet that person, what are you going to say? Because it's all fine and well to meet that person, but why? And what do you want to say? And you can't attack them. You've got to be socially acceptable too. Also, you've got to master that social moment. So really think about it as you move forward into your day-to-day is, where does your power lie? What is that poise that you bring on a day-to-day basis? And are you present when it's necessary? Any other questions, any other comments before we all rush off into our day and be beautiful and fabulous? No, yes. You must ask while we're here because we have time. Yes, Valerie. I can't hear you. Can anybody hear Valerie? I seem to remember we've had this problem once before.
It's
There we go. There we go.
yeah, okay. Between Teams and Zoom, it switches microphone. How do I train myself to remain more calm if something triggers me?
So you've got to look at what is triggering you and why is it triggering you to start off with. And I always think that if we take a week in our lives and then really be conscious about what is triggering us becomes really important. So is it somebody that's trying to overpower you? Is it somebody that's trying to undercut you? Is it just because we're overwhelmed? Is it because our sleeping habits are really bad? I can send you to James for all of those kind of beautiful things. But that's the kinds of things that we need to start looking at. Look at ourselves first. So why is it triggering us? Or is it the environment that we are in? So start by that and really start making a note about it. And sometimes it's silly little things that really set us off. It's like a fast, instantaneous trigger, emotional trigger moment. For me, I've had to go. We have in South Africa our revenue service where we pay tax. I have been to this building 7 times in the last 3 weeks. I cannot tell you how the staff and the people there trigger me just because I'm irritated for being there. And that's the thing that I have to overcome. Diane, something's happened 19 years ago that I need to sort out. But if I'm not going to sort it out, it's going to continue with me for forever. So sort it out. Then I'll be fine. So it's just that irritation that it's getting to me. But you go and you sit in these queues of hundreds of people, and you really have to center yourself, calm yourself, ground yourself, and think about what you can do while I'm sitting there. You know, it's really boring. There's no internet connectivity inside the building. I'm not sure why. They think we're going to steal something or take some ideas or whatever. So it's about what can you do while I'm sitting there? Can I write another talk? Can I package my offerings? Can I do something? So think about why you've been triggered, when are you being triggered, and how can you bring yourself back towards yourself? That becomes really important. And Valerie, if you can master this now, your year is going to be fabulous, because this is going to be something that you're going to need. I promise you this year. This year is, I mean, we haven't hit there yet, and I don't know about anybody else, but my year has started off fast. So the more you can master it now, the better it's going to be for you. And I think it's things like, James, you can jump in here, but most people are not getting really good sleep at the moment. Or
Absolutely.
what's
Insomnia
one,
is a big thing.
yeah, what's
And
one
people
thing
don't
to,
have proper sleep hygiene. They don't go to bed at the same time. They don't get up at the same time. Too much exposure to the cell phone, the tablet before they want to go to bed. They don't switch off at least half an hour before they want to go to bed. They want to watch a YouTube and then sleep.
yeah.
Doesn't work like that. Sleep
Can I
hygiene,
say
key.
something?
Yeah. Very interesting. I have a group called StratLab, and I challenge them all is, what's this one thing that you can stop doing in the evenings? So can you take off an app off your phone? I don't have emails on my phone, because what happens with emails on your phone is you answer like this, but it's not professional. So is that really the response that you want out there? Landy doesn't have emails at all. So she has voice messages. So what is it one thing that you can take off your phone, Valerie? Or can you take your phone outside your room? Nadia, I think you mentioned to me the other day that you charge your phone outside your bedroom in the evenings.
Yeah, so when I moved in end of November, I actually started a habit of my phone in the kitchen, and that's where it stays. And I charge it there and I leave it there through the night.
Yeah.
So I don't take it with me to the bed at all.
Yeah. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we need to start getting into habits for, so that we can have a better night's sleep. I think then, and more, if you wear these watches for whatever, one of it is sleep. Every day I'm appalled at my sleep moment, because it gives you like what percentage your body battery is at. The days that I feel fabulous, my body percentage is like at 20%, and I'm going, really? I'm not so sure about that, but anyway. So, we need to work around around all these devices and all this kind of stuff as well. So I think James is 100% correct in sleep becomes really important as we move forward. Are we getting enough? Are we getting the right quantity? But then you need to look at every day, like what is your intentions for the day? What is triggering you? Why is it triggering you? How do you need more information about something? Why is it getting you into that kind of state?
Can I say something, Di?
Are you welcome?
So triggers there's intelligence in triggers. So when you have that trigger, you need to ask yourself, what is your learning here? Because at the end of the day, if you are being triggered, you are going to be triggered continually until you've learned from what that trigger is that's causing you to trigger. So for example, just to go deeper, I've got an issue with, for example, people not telling the truth. And I've realized it's something from my childhood. So I've always continually attracting people that was a trigger for me until I'd learned from it, and I've learned it. Now I don't attract that anymore. So, for example, so there's intelligence in triggers. And yes, I agree with sleep. Those are all outside. But if we're kind of continuously blaming something, we're never going to heal from whatever, and therefore we'll always be triggered.
Yeah, very much. I mean, triggers are very interesting because if you listen to one of Landy's podcasts as well, there's triggers from different parts, so north, south, east, west, and they're all related to something different. But it's to work out what it is, but then also to take a step back and to not react. That's the biggest thing. Don't react immediately. Rather, think about your response. We can all react. So I'm a fire sign. Oh, funny that, eh? But I live right by the sea here. So I have the calmness of the water every day. I can hear it. And that calms me down immediately. That my son is the only water sign around. He's in France at the moment. But if I'm spiraling out of control, he's the only person that can calm me down, which is very fascinating. So be around people that you need to calm you as well. We need to have that groundedness in our everyday lives too. So make sure that you are doing all of those necessary things as well. Right, ladies and gentlemen, have a very beautiful day. Thank you for joining and listening to us. Please go and look at your power, your presence, and your poise. And I'm looking to see fantastic things happening to each and every one of you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
It was great.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye.